a lot has been going on. And even though you realized that we had been giving you a heads up and trying to help keep things in perspective, this is not an easy path. It never was going to be an easy path. And it's just as, okay, because you are of the divine, and you are still of the divine. You are never left the divine. The way you process, no, not process, not experience. I guess experience. The way you move through the experiences on earth are done in a way very much of the divine. You did experience the forgetfulness to a degree, because that is what happens there. There was some forgetfulness, but there was also a strong divine connection that you cannot not have. And in what would be considered by the standards there. See, as we said this, you're like, what are you talking about? I am divine, of the divine. I was a horrible child. I would want to do all kinds of horrible things. I'm not going, No, you weren't. You are taking the ideals that have been and dogmas that have been placed upon you were set to remove you from your divinity. You are always expressing your divinity. Always. And when those that seek to control you needed to vilify your divinity from yourself and others, they could not let you see, or it is good for you to understand this now. Yes, okay, we see that now. You wanted to have a different discussion. You had a different question you wanted to address, and we may get to that at some point, but we're going to discuss this other thing because we see that it is, I want to say interfering, but it's not really. It is causing agitation at the edges. Yes, it is causing an agitation at the edges of you. You have always been expressing your divinity. You cannot not express your divinity. You cannot not be in your divinity. Even at those times when you have been the most extreme and fighting the hardest and the loudest, you are in your divinity. This is very difficult. It is that when there are those who wish to control souls, wherever they may be, they have to set up parameters of behavior that is considered what they would approve of or not. And in doing so, if they can get you to pull away from that which is divine and set you up so that you are existing inside their parameters and no longer in line with your divinity, then they are controlling you. There is a very careful, methodical pattern which this is done, starting immediately. No, even before you were born, it's already starting. They are already, even with in the womb, as to food that are get brought to you, controlling the mother as to what foods and things that she does, so as to keep you from your divinity. With a child, when it's expressing itself in its divinity, you see it through laughter and crying, because it is more simple at that point. The not responding to someone in their divinity is done. When the child is crying, some parents will work to not to understand what the child is. Most parents, there are many parents that are kind and loving and wonderful and great, and they will do their best to try to understand what is upsetting the child and make them better. But there are many that are the thoughts that they have to control and train the child. That is so bad. That is so bad. It is such a bad thing. Yes, I'm being bad because it is very, very, very bad and very detrimental to everything, everyone, everywhere. Oh. Okay. You are standing in your divinity. When you were a child that cried and screamed and they would not be controlled, the society in which you lived in cannot allow that. It cannot allow people to stand in their divinity and not acquiesce. So they have to push down harder and harder in every way, from every corner, and try to break you. There were many times when you felt, you at the tip of the iceberg felt, you were cracking and breaking and nothing would be left. But you are part of the whole. They could never really break you. Those times when you felt you were breaking and could not go on, and you went in on yourself. The fullness of yourself was there, keeping you going, even though you did not know it. You are standing in your divinity. Standing in your divinity does not mean you will never get angry. You will never yell. You will never react strongly. Because sometimes that is required. Sometimes if the situation itself has pulled so far away from divinity, then the only way to get back to divinity is to do something extreme. And you have been able to hold on to that quality of divinity, of the I will do what's required to bring a divinity. And you're going to laugh. I know you're already laughing at this as the thought comes into your head. It is very hard for you to accept this because of all the training and floof that's been put there. When you say absolutely not, this is what I'm going to do and this is going to happen, I don't care, and I don't care who you are, what you're doing, this is going to happen, and you are one of your highest and most completely in your divinity. Because divine will always pull back to what is divine. It will always connect to that as what is God. And when they are the farthest reaches away, it takes a lot of power and energy to say, I absolutely am going to return to my divinity. I absolutely am going to stand in my divinity. And I'm going to stand in these qualities of divinity. I'm going to stand in this truth. I'm going to stand, and I don't care what you do to me. And I'm going to make sure everybody hears it because I want them to stand in their divinity. And this is what is truth. And that is what has caused a lot of difficulty in your childhood. And this is just, no, it was not. There has never been a point in time in your life where this has not been an issue with everyone who has been in your life, because you delved into the darkest and most separated places. You have delved into the darkest and most separated places. And I know you're thinking right now, there are other people who have it far worse than I do. I've met other people who have it worse, but here's the thing. This is why you are actually in the darkest of places, and you didn't realize it. The darkest of places is not the torture and the war and the slavery as you think, because we all know that it's wrong. The soul knows that it's wrong and will constantly be fighting to get out of it. And it knows it's wrong. Everyone knows it's wrong. Even the ones, they all know it's wrong. And if you know it's wrong, then your divinity is you're connected to your divinity, is telling you, no, this is wrong. Even though you're suffering, though you're in pain, yes, but you're connecting to your divinity. That is not the darkest of places. The darkest of places, my dear one, the darkest of places, the most separated from God, are where you think you are fine, where you think this is normal, but it is so far removed from what is of God and divine. It is far removed from divine love, divine justice and fairness, divine truth. In a place where untruth is okay and acceptable, and no, it's like, oh, it's just a mild inconvenience. A place where divine love is not even known, and it's okay. It's the place where it's considered to be normal, day-to-day living. That's the darkest place. And as I say this, you are like, how can that be the darkest place? Because in this darkest place, you're so dark and so far removed. They're not even fighting to get out. They're not even trying to find their divinity. They're so far away from it, they're not even trying anymore. They think this is reality. They think this darkness is reality. And they've built an entire system in this darkness away from reality and truth and divinity. That is the darkest place. That is the darkest place. And that, my dearest of ones, that is where you went. You went into that darkest of place. That darkest of place with violence and fear. And it was normal. With religion and rules for everything. And it was normal. And you couldn't figure out why you just couldn't work. Why you couldn't just fit in. Why you just couldn't. You kept trying. And you tried this and you tried that. And it wouldn't work. And you couldn't figure out, why can't I fit in? Because, my dear love, my dearest love, because you are of divine. And they do not even recognize it. They do not even recognize it anymore. They don't even know what it is. They do not even recognize and know what it is, and they fear it. They do. Thought came into your mind, fear? Yes, they fear it. They fear it because to them it seems to undermine everything that they value and know and they've built upon, because it is nothing. That is why we brought to you and said everything is crumbling and falling away. And yes, into a way it was about you, because you have, on the surface, accepted, not accepted. You've had to be in this dark place, this dark world, these dark people and these dark ideas and these dark, so much stuff. And you've had to try to find a way to exist here. And you're the divine. And the divine cannot truly exist in this darkness and fit in, because nothing of it is divine. Nothing. None of the structures, the philosophies, the dogmas. No. They're all wrong. They're all wrong. They're all. And they hope and they try. And they do know. No, not they all. Some of them do know that there's something they're trying to get to. But those who have been building this up put enough false things out that feel good enough, make sense in this dark, dark place, that you think, okay, that must be something there. You're already bringing in divinity and light. And you've come to the place you were always supposed to come to. Because now the divinity is on earth, and it's being felt on earth, even just by a smile or a compliment. And they look at you like, you notice me. What are you seeing? And they smile back, and you're bringing in that divinity. Little bits here, little bits there. And now, things have been set up so that the words, the actual words, can be heard. And it's not just the words. That is why, yes, you wondered about that too. You love writing. You've always loved writing, even though you're dyslexic and it's an awful mess. The ideas are very good. But you wondered, why am I not writing a book? I could write now. I've always known it was something I wanted to write. I could write it now. Writing would be good. My dear, this is the path you're supposed to be on. Because in your words, in the sounds, there is also something else. Something else that you cannot measure on earth. It is like a child always knows the sound of his mother's voice. The dear children of earth that have been lost in the dark, they're hearing their mother's voice. Now, the child might be angry and might go run and hide when it hears his mother's voice, because sometimes children do that. Oh no, I'm going to go over here and hide from mom. But they still know it's their mother's voice. They still know it's his mother's voice. And it's not the actual sounds that you are making. It is the divinity, the love that is flowing through, that is felt. And you can read it in a book, but when you read it in a book, you hear it through your own voice. Through the voice in your head. And there are some poets that have been able to write divinity in a way that even when you hear it, the voice in your head, you can still get glimmers of it, but that is not the same as this. This is Mother's voice. This is the divine speaking to you and telling you, I love you and I'm here and we're going to get through this. We're going to get you through this. You don't have to do all the stuff you think you have to do, because that's not what's required of you. You have no requirements. You are loved. And we're going to get you through this. Just listen to my voice and we'll come out of the darkness. Just keep listening. And you will feel it, and you will feel safe. And take my hand. Feel my hand on your hand or around your shoulder. Wherever it is that you need to feel comforted and supported, to know you're safe. And we're going to get out of the darkness. We're going to get out of the darkness. You're still there. You're still deep in the darkness. But there is light shining. And you're going to experience it. And you're going to feel it. There's no way you can't. Just allow yourself to hear, to know, and to recall, and to remember. Remember. And as we say remember, she smiles. A soft smile, like, relax, and I can relax and smile. It's okay now. It's okay. All those elements of you that you thought were bad need to be changed. You're like, you mean I didn't need to change? I didn't need to change that. There wasn't a bad thing. I thought I was doing all those things wrong. You only thought they were wrong because those who were trying to lie to you, to control you and destroy your divinity, had overwhelmed you. Watch the rationalizations, because the rationalizations are not from God. They are not from God. Stand in your divinity, and you will know it. You will know it. It is very beautiful. It is very, very beautiful. And intricate and fun and light and strong. And yes, I will say society, but it's bigger than just society. If you meet opposition and some saying, no, don't do this, this is not right. It's not. If you are in line with truth and light, justice and fairness, and love, then it is right. And you can also tell in the eyes of those who are experiencing it. If you see anger, especially if you see anger, when you do this in their eyes, then you will know you're in your divinity. If you see fear, that's a little difficult, because if they have fear because they're afraid of losing what they've had, you can tell the difference between that. If you get the curious, odd look, like, what on earth are you doing? And why are you doing it that way? Then you've got it. Then you've got it. That's it. And sometimes you'll get some that when they see it, they immediately recognize, and you see it waking up in them. You'll see the divinity wake up in them when they see it in you. It'll like a starburst going off. So when you have those who are angry at you, those who can't figure out what on earth you're doing, or those who have a starburst of recognition, if you are getting all those reactions, then you will know, no matter how outside the confines of your teachings you are, that is your divinity. And it'll be unique and different for each one of you. So I can't describe it more than that. I can't describe it more, because you're each going to be unique and different in the way you do it. Shine, and be fun and weird and different and light, and be yourself. Be yourself. There is a great light growing. There is a great light growing. And it is very, very beautiful to see. You are very, very